Welcome to Don't Step on the Bluebells, the podcast where personal healing and transformation take center stage. I'm your host, Amanda Parker, and I'm a fellow seeker on the journey of personal growth. Join me as I delve into the stories of gifted healers, guides, and everyday people who have experienced remarkable transformations. Listen in as they share their practical wisdom to enrich your everyday life. And don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss a new episode. Welcome to Don't Step on the Bluebells. Today, I'm with Naomi Barnouw-Lindner, an expert in aura reading and leadership coaching. We're exploring the fascinating world of auras. Naomi will share how auras reflect our individuality, the healing power of understanding our own aura, and practical tips for using this insight every day. I am so excited to share this conversation with you. Let's dive right in. Thank you so much for joining us here, and welcome to Don't Step on the Bluebells, Naomi.
Thank you, Amanda, for this introduction, and I'm also happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we were connected by someone that we both know who told me you definitely need to get in touch. And even in our first conversation, the intention wasn't necessarily to be on the podcast, but after having a few, questions and understanding of what it is that you do, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to learn more and share a bit more of your gifts and what you do with our listeners here. So, why don't you tell me, for starters, where are you actually based in the world?
I'm based in the Netherlands.
Mhm.
I have my practice where I see people live, but I also can do my work on a distance online via Zoom. But most of the time, I work here from the space you see here in The Hague Center, the Netherlands.
So, I haven't actually been to The Hague, not yet. Spent some time in Amsterdam, but I'm keen to think I can take the Eurail over there from London and come visit.
Oh, if you're there, let me know.
Yeah.
And then we'll meet up and have a nice walk on the beach over here.
Mm. So, we're going to be talking today about aura reading and getting an understanding of that. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, we're not always really sure what exactly is an aura. Could you give some light about what that word really means?
For me, it's about energy system we have around us as human beings, which also goes through our body. So I always say it's your energy system, and with has different layers, but also has the chakras, the energy centers in it. So it's the energy system around us and what goes through us.
And I have understood in the past that aura also has to do with colors. So my understanding had been that there's something to do with colors that you can see or feel. Is that true, or am I off track here?
No, you're not off track, because yes, an aura has to do with colors, but not only with colors. A lot of people think when I'm providing aura readings, oh, then you see all the colors around the people. But when I'm tuned in an aura reading, I observe the information which comes through the energy system of the person for which I'm doing the reading, and in connection with, I call it the universal library. And the information from the aura or the different chakras there can be colors, but there can also be images and pictures which I see, or feeling things. So I developed my psychic abilities, and I like to call it, in this aura and in this energy field, I am able to observe the subtle information and the subtle, how do you say that, reality of things. And sometimes it has to do with images that I see or things that I hear or feel. So it's not only about the colors. And most of the time, when you see an aura in a picture on the internet or in books, you see the different colors of the chakras. During a reading, it's not about that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into that. I know we'll get into the way that you work a bit more as we go further in the conversation, but that already helps Because for me, it also has been an understanding, okay, so there's something to do with the color here.
Oh, yeah. What I would like to mention with this, I call it energy system, but actually, you can speak about the energetic body we also have. So we have
Mm.
our physical body and our bones and muscles and things, and there is this energetic body.
So you mentioned something else before that I find, I mean, personally really fascinating. And I think people are really curious about this. In the work that you do, you've also had to tune into your psychic abilities more. Could you talk about what that means a little bit more? Because I think some people either have no idea what that is or are like, yes, I want to do that too. What is it? How do I do it?
um, yeah, it's about that. Your six senses. You can call it that
Mm.
as well, or your intuitive gifts. We all have. And in the last years, I also had a duration of 2 years in developing my skills for reading auras. When I'm doing a reading, in my case, I'm sitting with my eyes closed.
Mm.
So I developed to see with my inner eye.
Mm.
And sometimes the information comes through images. It's like a film that I see. So you can call it clairvoyance.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's about feeling, knowing. So that are the psychic abilities is about, I think the six senses and the
Mm.
information which comes through does not come from myself.
Yeah, that's really helpful to understand that when you're talking about psychic abilities, and I think you're right, I think universally this is what it means, that you're really developing your intuitive senses, you're developing that inner knowing and wisdom, that trust within yourself, that when you're closing your eyes and you're getting this information, that you trust that it's real, that it's true, that you can rely on it. So the psychic abilities have a lot to do with tuning out the noise and like the physical reality around you. And for you, closing your eyes actually, but going within to really tap into that inner sense, that intuition, getting the answers you need from there.
Tune in and observe and see the subtle energies. Some people,
Mm.
of a lot of people, sometimes call it the unseen world.
Mm.
Do you know that they're talking about? Okay, I'm connected with the unseen world. I like to call it I'm connected with the subtle reality because for me, it's not unseen because it's there as well.
Mm.
And I learned, how to see it and how to tap into that.
So you're helping people tap into deeper levels of, well, really personal power, personal knowing, helping them to grow and develop in the ways that they want to. And my interpretation of that is that it's very healing work. I'd love to hear from you what what does healing mean for you?
Yeah, well, that's direct and interesting question. And of course, I'm going to tell you what healing means for me. But I also have to laugh a bit because, the word healing is a regular term used in the field of work we are in, with coaching, therapy. And I'm laughing, but because sometimes I'm questioning that word because with the word heal, I also connected with the word broken, and in my point of view, everyone is whole by themselves and not broken. So before I'm going to tell you some more about my definition about healing, I would like to share some words of a medicine woman, which are applicable in my field of business, but also in your work, I'm for sure. And I think that's relevant. So it's a medicine's woman's prayer. I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. I will not fix you, for you are not broken. I will not heal you, for I see you in your wholeness. I walk with you through the darkness as you remember your lights. It's written by Cherie Bliss Tisley. I really like these words because, in my opinion, they're relevant because we're talking about healing, but in my vision, we are already whole in
Mm.
essence, always. But of course, Amanda, I understand that I'm not here to discuss the word healing very literally. And of course, I have my own definition about healing. For me, actually, you can say that healing comes when triggers disappear. Healing is about personal development and personal leadership. But for me, healing has to do with everything with balancing or harmonizing your energy flow. And sometimes that can be done with working with bigger traumas, doing the deep work of, feeling things that are maybe older to heal things. But in my point of view, healing also can be found in daily life, whether, for example, you've worked too long at your computer and you really need a break and you go outside for that walk to the park. That can be healing as well. And that is also about balancing or harmonizing your energy system. It's about taking care of oneself, and sometimes it has to do with deep, deep inner work, which touches bigger traumas. But sometimes healing also has to do with, the little daily things of taking care of yourself by going on a walk or taking a bath or whatever. Listening to music can also be healing.
So I hear as well that within your definition of healing, that there is this assumption, this knowing that we're not broken. So you're not trying to
Yes.
fix something or piece it back together. You're simply trying to help people really come back to remembering their own wholeness.
Yes. 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 Sometimes things can be out of harmony or balance. I like the word harmony, and there's work to be done to feel that wholeness again, to experience that wholeness.
I think it's a really important distinction because you're right. We take the words for granted that we're used to using in our practice. And I wasn't always comfortable using the word healing. It's really only in the last year that I'm using that word myself, recognizing, oh, actually, this work is very healing, whether it's coaching or Reiki or even just having these conversations in the podcast and getting the word out about all these different modalities that people can engage in. But I think it's also worth calling out that, yeah, we don't have the same definition always. It doesn't always mean the same thing. And it's okay if that word doesn't resonate with everyone. Because everyone listening may also be like, healing, well, that's not really for me. Or you have an assumption of what it's supposed to mean and it doesn't resonate. So I appreciate that you call that out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had to laugh because, of course, I'm using it because it's so regularly in our field of business to work with that word, and I hear it saying myself as well. Oh, that was a healing. So of course,
Well, I think at the end of the day, I'm going to have a, glossary of the word healing with 35 definitions because everyone has their own understanding of what that really means. And that for
yeah,
me is powerful and shows it's not just one thing. It means many things to different people, and you get to choose and decide, does this word have relevance for me and in what way? So
yeah.
I'll let you know when the glossary is up and out in the world.
It would be nice to do that to see
Yeah.
all these different definitions. That's nice.
Mm. So maybe you can tell us a bit about your background and how you got into this work. So I used to have this assumption that people who did work that was helping others, were living kind of in the woo woo world and not really living in reality. And I don't know what else I had in my mind until I started working in the field and getting to know other people and recognizing, oh, they're just normal humans who have regular lives. And then all of a sudden, this amazing thing happens or you get interested. So I'd love to hear your story. How did you get to do this kind of work?
Yeah. Thanks. It's nice that you say that. And yeah, they're just normal people who walk on this earth and doing things. Yeah. Well, yeah, my story, there are a lot of stories to tell about me because I can say I have a really full and rich life, full of life experiences. I've been born 41 years ago. Near to the city of Rotterdam, and I grew up with a family. How's the English word? More or less
Mhm.
atheistic. We didn't talk about any bigger thing like a god or connecting with spirituality. It wasn't there. And also, it's good to mention that with my parents, we didn't go out to nature as well. I really lived the city life. And a good thing is that I really had a connection with horses. So I could go on horse riding. And actually, that was the part that helped me to be connected with the nature as well, being with the horses. That was also very healing, being with the horses. But then I can remember as well that when I was in the last year of primary school, you could get how you say that religious lessons about the Bible. It was optional to follow these classes, and I really loved these classes. I was so interested in that. So when I was little, these curiosity about the mystics of life and being here and the earth actually was already there. And when I got older, when I was, how do you say that? You have primary school and then you have secondary.
High
I don't-
school,
when I was at
college,
my
university.
high school, college, no, let's call it high school. Then the parents of a good friend of mine, they opened a spiritual shop in Rotterdam. And oh, I loved it. All the essence and the stones and the books that were out there, but really understanding or feeling it wasn't there. But I was interested in that. There were seeds planted there. And then when I was at high school, I wanted to study psychology, but things went different. And I didn't study psychology. I studied communication, um, did a bachelor in communication, and had a student time with a lot of partying. And then
So you were a normal student.
I was a normal student hanging out, dancing, partying, and okay, I went to that study and I managed to get my bachelor. But sometimes, if I ask myself, how do I did? It was really, really fun traveling, partying, and having fun. And then started in corporate business in the field of human resources. I also studied that later on, human resource management, got my bachelor in that field of business. The first 10 year of my own career was in human resources and recruitment.
I mean, you're giving us the picture that you had these curiosities, but I would say this spiritual work maybe wasn't so ingrained in who you were or what you were seeking out, but there was just interests here and there, and you were going
Yeah.
through your studies, and then
And then I worked, and during the time between my, let's say, 20s and 30s, I was mainly busy with doing my work. But I have to admit, although I was doing yoga, I was reading things and interested in that spirituality and personal development. At that time, if I look back, I was everywhere. I was all over the place, but not by myself.
Mm.
And in 2012, I started my coaching business from the motivation that I saw so many people talking about work life and career, being in a workspace that doesn't really matches talents and didn't give them energy. And I really like the one-to-one coaching session. So I started my coaching practice.
did
Um,
did you were you still working in a corporate role, or did you like leave to train to be a coach, or how did that transition happen?
I started from my own talents, and I was lucky that there was Marcel Keizer. I know his name exactly. He had a business in coaching people, And he said to me, okay, I believe in your abilities. I will provide you clients where you can work me. So he provided me the first
Wow.
clients. And in the first time, I combined my coaching with interim assignments in recruitment as well,
Hmm.
once in a while. But then in 2014, I said, okay, I'm going to have a full focus on coaching. And in the meantime, I had a daughter and I was pregnant with a twin, with my twins. So, but then at 2012, with starting my own coaching business, I started to develop myself as well in personal development, but also in professional development. And that's where, yeah, where my healing journey started.
Well, it sounds also like you became a mom of three shortly after beginning your own business. So I'm sure that was learning by fire as well.
Yeah, I can remember that of course, quitting my job in corporate business was a big thing if you're talking about security and all that kind of things. So I quitted my job. And then I found out it was in the last week I was working there that I was pregnant. And of course, Mina, she is and was very welcome. But I was like, okay, I'm pregnant now, and I quitted my job. And I know that my manager, Ron, offered me, he said, you can come back when your baby is born. Just come back and be our human resources officer for 3 days a week. But there was a strong feeling inside that I knew, no, that's not the way to work
It's
out.
it's so amazing to me how much, because I've been on the entrepreneurial journey myself since 2018, how much courage, and I would say in my case naivete, it took to just go out on your own. And especially, it sounds like you really had that very clear guidance within that was telling you, okay, this, maybe you didn't know exactly where it was going to land or what it was going to look like, but you knew very clearly what wasn't working for you and you honored that. I think a lot of people get stuck in that space that they know it's not working, but they don't know what's next and they're a little bit too afraid to move forward. So they stay. It sounds like there was a lot of courage in your journey to just say, no, I know this isn't right. I have all this security. I'm having a kid. I have security. Like, no thanks. I'm going to leave this behind and go out on your own. And then it brought you to this place where you're now over 10 years into your coaching practice, which bravo, because you've really made it. You're here and have been able to integrate these spiritual principles into your work as well. So you said that came a bit later, I understand. How did the aura readings or the more spiritual element of what you do come into practice?
In coaching, I'm well educated to use different tools, whether it are assignments, conversations, or whether it is working with systemic family constellations or voice dialogue. These are the tools that I have in my toolbox. But always my strong own intuition was there in my coaching business as well. And then talking about aura reading, um, well, it was 2018 that I decided by myself that I would like to receive an aura reading. But I have to admit, at that time, of course, personal development, in my point of view, it's an ongoing process. So, of course, I always have my own teams on things where I work on. But that there wasn't really a big issue I wanted to look at it to work at. I was just curious, to be honest, if that was possible, receiving an aura reading. So actually, my intention was the curiosity. I was in 2018 and I got an aura reading. She was tuned into my 7 main chakras. And I was so, how do you say that? Oh, I forgot the English word then. I'm not surprised in a good way about the amount of clear, useful, practical information that came through about me which went direct to the core, to the essence, that I was like, oh, wow, this is
Do you have any
interesting.
example of something maybe that she had said that was like, "Oh my gosh."
Mm, yeah, not from my own reading, but tuning in on my foot chakras. She could see how I take steps, the paths that walk, specific characteristics of mine, but also see how it is now, but also what can be supported to get it more in line with purpose, but also energy and flow.
Mm.
And I was like, that's interesting for my coaching clients. Because I was like, when receiving an aura reading, sometimes they can skip 2 or 3 coaching sessions, but because it provides so much deep information which go to the essence, that is interesting. So I started to hire Simone, my teacher in aura reading, for my clients for a couple of years. And that worked out well because my clients had coaching with me. And if they are interested in a reading, then Simone came. I wasn't there. She did the reading. And then we got further with the coaching, and that worked fine. And I wasn't even not thinking about I'm going to do that by myself. However, at that time, it was also a time that I got connected with shamanic principles and went for the first time, went to sweat lodges. I did
Mm.
a vision quest. So my connection with the earth.
I'm gonna have to stop you here because I need you to tell me what's a vision quest, what's a sweat lodge?
Okay. A vision quest is a really beautiful ritual rite of passage where I went 4 days and 4 nights into the wood without food, only water. And then you stay in a forest. And in my case, was a beautiful forest in France by your own. And of course, you are guided in the base camp where you have your preparations with other participants. And then you are 4 days and 4 nights alone with yourself and the woods, no food. So if you're
Wow.
talking about connecting with yourself and the earth, and now if you're talking about healing, there was a healing experience, and of course also difficult with no food, 4 days all by yourself, not talking, only nature. Then yeah, then you will meet yourself for sure.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I was connecting with these ancient wisdoms. And then Simone did aura readings for me in my practice, and that went okay.
Mm.
But then I had a dream. She was giving classes, and I was in that class. And then some weeks later, she told me, hey, Naomi, I'm going to set up education to educate people in intuitive development and aura reading. And that's what I saw in my dream. But then still, it didn't have the feeling, oh, is this really my purpose? But I followed that dream. And then I got into a deep dive of 2 years into that education to explore that world and to explore my own aura and energy system and to practice in doing reading. But I had at that time 2 moments that I was like, okay, I know it's all around me. It's I can do this and it goes easily. But I still wasn't convinced that it was my purpose to do it in my practice. And I wanted to quit that education for 2 times because I was like, is this really the thing that I have to do? But then before I end that education, I got an email of somebody and there was nothing on my website about reading. And she asked me, hi, Naomi, what's your tariff for providing an hour reading?
The
You know,
universe was nudging you.
I was behind my kitchen desk and that email came and I was like, okay, I went outside and I was like, okay, Naomi, what are you going to do? Are you going to ignore this again? Are you going to say no? And then that was the moment I fully said yes to do this because for me, providing reading is really cooperation with the source, love,
Mm.
spirits. It's for the good of all. So I said yes, fully committed
Yeah.
to carry this as well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you went all in. You really committed and you followed this path. It is like a calling, like accepting your
Yeah.
calling.
Yeah. And that accepting that calling, that was
Mm.
kind of process as well. But then that email came, and I was like, okay,
Mm.
yeah. And then from that on, it was actually already there. From then on, yeah, I do it myself here in my
Mm.
practice. Yeah,
I
yeah.
find it fascinating. I'm reading a book now, unrelated. Well, not fully unrelated, but unrelated, called The Body Keeps the Score. And
Bessel
it's
van der Kolk.
yes. And
Yes.
it's just phenomenal. And for anyone who hasn't heard of him or heard of this book, it's really just about our relationship to trauma or traumatic experiences, the way that we experience life, the way that we store memories and whether painful or otherwise within our body. The book, I haven't been able to put it down since I picked it up. And it's a heavy topic. It's not light content. I believe that his writing is phenomenal because it's a lot of storytelling. So he explains different principles and concepts through story. But I just had the realization that the reason why I can't put it down and I love it and I'm so excited to be learning this is because I'm meant to be learning this. Like there's something in that for me, whereas someone else might pick up this book and it doesn't interest them. So I'm relating that to what you've shared, where there's with the aura reading, it's something was just calling you to it. There was no other option. You accepted the call, you questioned the call. You said, "Am I really meant to do this?" And every step of the way, a new door opened that showed you, yes, you're supposed to take this forward. It's going to be easy. I mean, easy is relative, but actually calling you forward into what that next path is.
To step into that, yeah, that's exactly yeah, what you say. That's how I experienced it. Because it was very easy for me not to do it because it was in my practice already, and it worked very nice. The
Mm.
cooperation with Simona and then a client. So yeah, yeah.
So
Mm.
when someone is coming in, and I'm going to bring us to your practice today, right? So someone comes in and they want to work with you. And I know that they're coming in, there's also the coaching side of the practice, but it's no mistake that they find you to support them. What does that relationship look like? Are people coming in just for aura readings? Is it always in combination with coaching, or how do you work?
No, because my work is always customized. So I always have an intake session to get to
Mm.
know my client and to hear what's the question they have, what's the team they're with, and what are they expecting in my coaching. So it's not always that people have an aura reading
Mm.
during coaching, but at this time, everything is possible because I meet the question of my clients, but most of the time, people are coming here with a question related on a career or personal leadership, and they have a few coaching sessions with me where an aura reading is an integrated part.
Mm.
And it's also possible that people book just an aura reading. But if I have to put it in percentage, I think that 80% is having an aura reading with coaching sessions as well, and 20% are just having 1 hour reading.
Mm. And so
Mm.
when someone comes in to work with you, what does that approach look like? I know it's customized, so it's hard to
Mhm.
say there's no universal way that you work with people. But if I were to say, "Hey, I'm really, struggling in my career. I don't know what I want to do next. I don't know where to go from here. By the way, I really want an aura reading." How would you work with them?
Yeah. most of the time they don't say, by the way, I really want an aura reading, but they say, hey, I saw on your website that you have an holistic approach and you're doing something with aura reading, and I don't have experience with it, but they feel that they want to receive. Well, of course, it's always custom made. But if you are talking about the kind of questions people come with me, it always has a link with, and it's a broad word, with energy management. But then when you're talking about energy management, where I strongly believe in is talent management. Get to know your own talents. And there's a difference between being very competent in something or working in your talent. Because competent, when you are working hard and learning things, you can, not everything, but you can be competent in a lot of things. And whether it has to do with making career choices or being on a good work-life path, or it has to do with personal leadership, most of the time you can always connect to talents. So what I do with people, in my vision, it's very useful and meaningful to reconnect with really your core talents. And if you are connected with the core talents and also see all the positive things, where you're talking about limiting beliefs or certain patterns, a lot of the time, pitfalls or patterns that doesn't work out that much are connected to talents. And that's very interesting. And when you're talking about a talent, then we're also talking about, in my point of view, the path of the heart. And if you're talking about doing what your heart desires are, but then you're also aligning with soul, and when providing aura readings, talents are also visible.
Just with that one statement, people are going to be knocking down your door. Because the reality is, so many people don't know. Like, we're trained. Many of us are trained, and we watch the world around us, and we see role models, or we learn what we're supposed to be doing. I'm saying that with quotation marks. We're supposed to do XYZ because our family expects it or society expects it. That you get to a certain point in your life and you don't even really know what you love, what you're good at, what you enjoy. You just know I was a project manager forever. I still project manage my own projects, but I was really good at it. But I didn't want to be a professional project manager. That wasn't my thing, but I was good. I was organized. I could get things done. I could motivate people to get their work done. But it took over 10 years of my career to realize, no, I don't want to do that. How do I get out of this? And it sounds like what you're talking about is really helping people see their natural talents, which maybe there's other words like I might use for that word talent that you're using that could be a bit of purpose or passion or like that natural affinity that you have for something. Like someone might be a natural communicator, or for example, and helping them really connect into what that is, which is a healing path completely, because you finally feel, this feels good. I'm excited about this. I can do this. I want to do this kind of work. So you're helping connect people in. And what I'm also hearing from you is that when you're doing the aura reading piece of the work that you do, you can actually see those talents very clearly with the person sitting in front of you.
Yeah. Well, it depends on, because I always trust that what I can see during an aura reading, and I always also set the intention that I can see and give the information the person in front of me can hear at that specific moment. So, when I provide a reading for you today, I will tune in what's relevant for Amanda to here at this moment, 9th of January 2020. I never know before a reading what kind of information will come through. And sometimes it's about talent, and sometimes it's about, how do you say that, old patterns which came from childhood, and a coping mechanism which you can see in the base chakra or the belly chakra, something like that. So I don't know, but if and somebody want, I can tune in on the talents, yeah.
Hmm.
And what you're saying, that's nice. You're talking about purpose. I'm not going to promise when people are coming here with me that they walk out with their life purpose.
Hmm.
Because it's nice when the ones, some people have that and they just have it, and that's great. But I do believe that when you have that reconnection with your talents, and with that you also can see, okay, then I know that what does that mean for life and work in a realistic way at this moment. But if you're reconnected with that and you go, then you have the right direction. And I believe that when you are walking that path on the right direction, connecting with your talents to do what you love, then things are coming, and the purpose will find you on that path.
Is there maybe an example from one client or someone that you supported in the past where they came in and there was really an amazing transformation from that work?
When doing our readings, information comes up which is relevant for that specific person at that time, related to specific life themes or blockage or patterns that somebody wants to change or wants to get more information about it. But in the time that I do the readings, most of the time I also see the potential of the intuitive
Capacity or capability?
capacities, yeah,
Mhm.
the intuitive capability of the person who's receiving the reading. I'm doing my work here to be a guidance for people and a mirror for people to find the answers which are already in themselves. I also really believe in the intuitive capacities of everybody here on this planet. And to reconnect with that, I think that is so useful and beautiful. But if you are all right with that, I decided to read a review of a client who received an aura reading from somebody who has extended career coaching with me. So she was here for me for like 8 or 9 sessions with a career question. And she wrote the following: during my career coaching, Naomi provides me a reading where she specifically tuned in on 3 questions that were important themes for me. This reading gave me a lot of insight. Naomi is able to describe and to communicate her observations in an excellent way, and to translate the observation to answers on the questions. It has given me tools, and I will come back on that later on because it's an important thing for me. It has given me tools to go along with these themes, and it provides me the trust that I needed. Naomi does not only point at what is needed, but during the reading, she also tuned deeper in on what is needed or supported in how to reach this. That made it nice for me to listen to the audio backwards, because I always record readings because there's a lot of information and then people can listen it again, and use the information to go along by myself with the themes. I definitely would recommend an aura reading integrated with coaching, but also without coaching. It's a nice and efficient way to create clearness, getting tools, and breaking patterns.
So it sounds like work that you did with this client. After doing the aura reading, you were able to come up with a few key questions that helped that person to be able to reflect more deeply on what they were struggling with.
Yeah, reflect, but also I think for me, it's important to the autonomy of my clients. I think is very important. So I always try during a reading, if I see a blockage or if there is a part where the life energy is not flowing optimal, I always ask if I can see information what my client can do by itself and what is supporting to make that life energy better flowing. And then I see, practical tools, what people can do by themselves. That comes through as well. And that's what I like, because gaining insights in coaching or a personal development or therapy, gaining insight is one thing. But in my point of view, integrating insights and being able to change things, that's another thing, which is just as important in my
That's
point
like,
of view.
that is music to my ears, because I know that for my own journey, but also when I'm working with clients, it's one thing to have the insight or realization. And sometimes maybe that actually is enough. You just have this awareness and you're able to change because of it. But so often we have the insight, but then we go back to business as usual. And it's so hard to create change unless you actually take all of that learning and wisdom and really consciously commit to shift the way that you live and act or believe within your life. Only then can you actually
Yeah.
integrate all of that learning and create a change.
Yeah, that's I share that vision, and during my coaching, I always have an eye on, okay, what is needed of helpful to
Mm.
integrate that. But also during the readings, I ask for that. May I see what can be supportive for this person and what he or she can do by themselves to to make it more flow or to clear the
Mm.
blockage or to change it in a positive way.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, if there's someone who's listening who's just starting out on their own journey, whether it be a healing journey or just that deeper getting to know themselves more deeply, is there any advice or maybe even words of wisdom you wish you had known that could support them where they are?
Um, I would say to those people who are taking the path of a self-development and healing is really be keen on the time to integrate insights and be aware that you're not, there's a lot of offerings, which is great, of course, but be aware that you're not jumping into one teaching to the other, to one coaching to the other, from a therapist to therapist, but please take the time to integrate the insights or the healings or the things you learn. So time and space to integrate things. In my vision, it's really important. And in during the time after a coaching session or therapy or a retreat week or healing or whatever, or a ceremony or whatever you do, Reiki healing, in my experience, the real work and the healing occurs in the period after that. So, yeah, rest and relax.
I'm going to send
Yeah.
that advice to myself 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think it's really, really powerful. Really, that understanding that it's not about the next course or teacher or healing or coaching. Like, the next one is not going to be the thing that fixes you. Anything has the potential to help you where you are if you, as you just said, really sit and allow it to settle and integrate and take the learnings that you need from that experience.
Yeah. And also when you're working with energetics, sometimes the body comes later, or you do a family constellation, for instance.
Also, what I'm hearing, and I know this to be true for myself as well, sometimes you hear the message, but it doesn't fully land. It's cognitively, you can understand it, but it doesn't fully arrive in your body or your energetic system for a while. And what I hear you describing is that many months later, then it suddenly landed. You could really recognize, wow, actually, there's a shift now, something I can tangibly see.
Yeah.
And I think I know for my own journey, especially in the past, because I have been known to be quite impatient. I wanted things to just happen and I expected, okay, now I take this course or I do this healing and everything is clear. But that's not how it works. And then sometimes years later, I'll suddenly realize, wait a minute, I'm not struggling with that anymore. Now I'm learning something new, but that's not the thing that I'm working through anymore. I've cleared it, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the same. And
Mm.
the same is with you asked me earlier in this podcast what was really eye-opening during the first aura reading you received in 2018. Well, there's a thing. I remember that she was talking about my crown chakra and the amount of information that comes through. And then she was saying something about, oh, but it's good to know that you can choose how much information you want to get.
Mm.
In 2018, when I was listening that recording of that reading, I was like, okay, it didn't make 100% sense.
Mm.
Now, years later, of course it makes sense because, being able to do aura reading is a natural thing for me. And that's, if you're talking about information that comes through, but that's years later that I'm really hearing where she was
Yeah.
talking about. But at that time, and there were other things which were really direct, of
Mm.
course, and applicable. And so that's
Mm.
also an example. Yeah.
So, for someone who wants to learn more, are there teachers or courses or foundations that you would recommend they take a look at?
I recommended some books,
Mhm.
but I'm thinking because you have an international audience,
Mhm.
I will mention one I don't have experience with by myself, but I know these two, and I know that they are providing an online school
Mhm.
about developing your own psychic abilities everybody has. And that are Saskia and Rachel from Not Your Average Psychic.
Mm.
So that's interesting for your international audience. And of course, I do recommend people to go in the education I followed myself, but that's in Holland, here in
Mhm.
The Hague.
Mhm.
But of course, I recommend people to go to her to learn more about your own intuitive abilities, because not everybody is meant to do aura readings, but everybody has the psychic abilities which are interesting to reconnect with.
So
Sorry.
I'll link to all of this in the show notes. So you've provided some resources to me that I'll also put in there, and then the resources that you've just shared here. So everyone who's listening who wants to learn more, you can of course go to the show notes and you'll be able to click the links and get more information. And then you can also reach out to Naomi. So how
Yeah,
would
of
you say that
course.
people get in touch with you, and for what reasons can they get in touch with you?
Nah, they can in touch with me if they want to experience an aura reading. I always say it's about you feel it when when
Mm.
you are open for a reading, and if you are open to have profound and insight about yourself, your willingness to have a look at yourself, then this is a really nice way to do that. But of course, people with any question in career choices, energy management, or getting in touch with talents or personal leadership questions, very welcome.
Mm.
I also work as a space holder in facilitating ceremonies and
Mm.
retreats. So of course, if you are looking for a space holder, you can also get in touch with me.
And
It's
what's
good to
what's the best
mention.
way?
Best way is send me an email
Mhm.
or give me a phone call or a WhatsApp message.
Okay, so
Not
that
you.
email is mail@naomibarno.nl. And then I also have your phone number, which I'll put on the show notes.
And it's good to know that I'm based in The Hague in the Netherlands, but providing aura readings, energy goes to time and space. So I can provide a reading only with a picture of somebody or the name and birth date. And then that's possible in English as well.
Okay.
If you don't mind grammatical errors, that kind of things.
No, we have an international audience, but many of them will be well versed in living internationally or working with people who are from different countries. So I will take that as a wonderful way to close the conversation, that we all have this capacity to tap into our intuition, and that you're also helping people, and that it is possible to reconnect, even if you don't know if you feel it today.
Is possible, definitely.
For now, I want to say thank you so much for being here today, for sharing so much of your story and how you got into this work, and really giving people an expanded perspective of what is possible.
And I would like to thank you for inviting me and taking me out of my comfort zone to do this in English. Thank you so much.
That is my specialty. Taking
Yeah,
people out of their comfort zone. Yeah, this is really beautiful. Anyone can get in touch with Naomi with the links that I'm going to provide in the show notes. And thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future episode. To dive deeper into today's conversation, make sure to visit www.don'tsteponthebluebells.com and grab your exclusive pod sheet. It's packed with valuable takeaways that will enrich your listening experience. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.